Okay, we're breaking down barriers. Oh no, what's our extra credit assignment going to be this semester? I want you to redesign assignments. So that's going to be your extra credit, right? And that is, take any assignment on your team at a team level and redesign, continuously improve that assignment, right? I'm going to take advantage of you guys because you guys are essentially the customer of the educational product I develop. I would like to continuously improve that product. One of the best ways I know to do that is to share it with my colleagues who are experts in the field, right? But at the same time, share it with the customers and get your input. Okay? Because there's a couple reasons for this. I want to do it for the good of the psychology department because we're in competition for course tuition dollars with other departments within arts and sciences, etc., right? So I want to do it on behalf of the psychology department. If my courses continuously improve, and that shows in terms of increased enrollment from semester to semester to semester, it makes me a more desirable employee. And considering I'm, essentially reapplying for work every frickin' year, right? I have no security whatsoever. I need to enhance my desirability. But ultimately, and this is the deal, it's about you. So the better the product I offer, the better value you get for the money. And part of what I need to do is get tight with you guys to understand what it is that's a benefit to you. Okay? So break down barriers. We're in this together. We might as well frickin' behave like we're in this together. Okay? Note that some organizations, do police agencies embrace the idea of citizen review boards or citizen advice boards? And typically they don't. And you say, well, don't you want to do your job better? Don't you want to get tight with the people that you serve? Right? And I know there's maybe political undertones to that conversation, but the tighter we get with the people we serve, the better the product we're going to deliver, right? And typically at a lower cost and at a greater level of respect and appreciation. These things are doable. Notice, it's not just about manufacturing, although I often rely on manufacturing examples because that's a huge part of my background, but service occupations as well. 10. Eliminate slogans, quotas, right? Eliminate slogans, exhortations, targets. We have to, right now the psychology department is we have to reduce our budget by 10%. Or 7% or 5%, we need a plan for each, right? And we got to cut costs, etc. Or, put a poster up on the wall that says 0 defects is our goal. But do nothing to change the system to help that happen. All you do then is demotivate people. Because they're like, yeah, I know you want 0 defects, but nothing has changed. Or, you want better customer service, but you've eliminated 2 customer service positions in a cost-cutting measure. So often, the slogans are in direct contradiction to what is actually physically happening. Such exhortations create an adversarial relationship as the bulk of the causes of low quality, right, and low productivity belong to the system. And Deming advances the 80-20 rule, and it's or 85-15 rule. And what he says is that 85% of the defects that are observed in the system are the result of the system, not the people operating the system. 15% of the defects can be attributed to the people. So really, the big gains are not in beating up people for poor performance. The big gains are improving the system where 85% of the defects, productivity reside. So don't tell people to do what is out of their control, right? So eliminate work standards, quotas on the factory floor, substitute leadership instead. It's a rather unpleasant story, but when I was at the lumber mill, what we did is we stacked the lumber. We used machines to sort and stack lumber so that it could air dry or kiln dry for a year and then eventually go to the planer to be sent to customers. Our machinery operated best with large pieces of wood. So optimally, the biggest piece we could run would be a board that was 3 inches thick, 12 inches wide, and we could take up to 20 feet long The bigger the better, right? And the bigger it was, the more efficiently it operated in our system, and then they counted our production in terms of board feet. Bigger boards are worth more, right, production-wise, than smaller boards. And, we went through a long run of this beautiful redwood, and I mean, just big 2x12s, boom, boom, boom. We make units in no time at all, and we would have, production of 180,000 board feet, let's say, in a single evening. And then our manager, John Woods, honest to God, John Woods, head of the lumber mill, decides, well, I can buy this really super cheap lumber, and we can run that, and then we will sell it down to Mexico where they will make bird houses out of it. That was the plan. That was his genius plan. And what this lumber was this crappy lumber, just horrible quality stuff. It would break if you damn near looked at it, right? If you tried to manipulate it, it'd just shatter. Those little skinny boards, 3/4 of an inch thick, 4 inches wide, and it was a nightmare for us to run. Our machinery couldn't handle it. We would be fighting it. We might as well stack lumber by hand rather than use the machinery by the time it was all said and done. And I remember after running this stuff for a week, he came to us Friday evening, because I was on the evening shift. He came to us Friday evening, and he brought us all out in the driveway next to the building. He started screaming at us. And I remember he said, "You guys have been sucking hind tit all week." I had no idea what that meant. It has to do with pigs and the lineup of the piglets sucking the nipples and stuff. I don't know, because it was Northern California where there's a lot of pigs. So and he's just yelling at us. And we're all like, dude, get us better lumber. We'll run more board feet. But the way it is now, and he wasn't having any of it, right? So he had a standard, he had a quota in mind of how many board feet we should produce on a shift. And if we didn't produce that, then we were somehow slacking, falling behind, right? When really it was the systemic choice. We did what we could do. We become demotivated and we work less hard, which is absolutely contrary to what he wanted to happen, and bad for business all around. So slogans, numerical quotas, lines in the sand, whatever it is, realize that if you want to use those will often be demotivating. Better, if you need to set numerical quotas and or deadlines, it's better to consult the people who are doing the job and ask them what's realistic. Had Woods come to us beforehand and said, look, I'm thinking about using this wood. What do you think is going to happen? What's going to be the result of it? If he'd gotten tight with the workers, we would have said, and he could actually brought in a sample load of it and said, let's do a test. Let's see how it runs. Instead of buying literally hundreds of thousands of dollars worth that we have to now run, we have no choice because it's already been purchased. Do a pilot test and see how it works, right? So that is good leadership, right? Quotas, deadlines, etc., not necessarily. Eliminate management by objective. Eliminate management by numbers, numerical goals. Again, substitute leadership. But back to the previous point, get tight with the people who are closest to the process. Pride of workmanship, and this is what it's about, right? Remove barriers that rob the hourly worker of his right to pride of workmanship. We were really proud of our work at the lumber mill and our ability to just fly through this lumber and get shit done, and we could watch our production increase, and we develop skills and techniques, and we try little things and they get better and it worked, etc. And we go home 2 a.m. typically, right? We go home at 2 a.m. and feeling good about what we've done and ready to come back the next day. Until there's debacles where we're fed materials that are hard to use or somehow. So it's the responsibility of supervisors must be changed from sheer numbers to process quality. And you might think that's quality of product. Quality might be a product, but it can also be quality of process that you're using. It's the quality of the raw materials coming in. It's the quality of the supplies you use as part of your process. Make sure that you're not putting obstacles in the worker's way. Leadership is about removing obstacles for the worker doing a good job, whether that's material, whether it's training, whatever it is. And then pride of workmanship for managers and engineers, right? Remove barriers to rob people in management and the engineering of their right to pride and workmanship. They deserve it just as well. Right? This means, inter alia, the abolishment of annual or merit rating systems. And these are devastating processes, right? And of management by objective. And many business schools still teach MBO. It's not the way to go. It's continuous improvement on a day-to-day process of systems. Not putting out some objective and then whipping everyone or in otherwise enticing everyone to meet that objective. Right? We don't need the objective. We need the process. The objective largely takes care of itself. Training and self-improvement. Vigorous program of education and self-improvement. So, how many of you have maybe worked for an organization that gives you some kind of tuition reimbursement? So that might be an example for this assignment that you might want to discuss, how that works, right? And then the transformation becomes part of everyone's day-to-day job, right? Put everyone in the company to work to accomplish a transformation. It is everybody's job. Bring people together, use very diverse teams, provide adequate training, and get the job done. Make it part of everyone. And this really, we're going to talk coming up in the course about culture, about organizational culture. As a leader, you're responsible for the culture. Do you develop the culture that supports transformation? And note, many managers don't do this because they want to protect what they have. They're scared of the unknown, right? And they're not really courageous people. So they operate in a very narrow paradigm, the way it's always been done before. And they don't want to deviate too far from that because they're afraid, because their higher ups may in fact not countenance any type of failure or any type of experimentation. So again, back to point 8, drive out fear. Now, sure, Deming, various people have been kind of associated with this PDCA cycle. Sheward, I guess, is most famous for it, but Deming claims it as well. Right? As the Sheward cycle, it'll be plan, do, check, act. So we create a plan, we do it, usually on a small scale, kind of an experimental scale. We study the results, and then we act on the basis of those results. Notice, this is the empirical method then applied to industrial or service organizations. Let's create a plan. Hey, why don't we do this? And this is usually an incremental change. We need to incrementally change this. Let's do it on a small scale, an experimental trial, so to speak, study the results, and then act on the basis of that results. That is, either expand the program if successful, or revisit the program if unsuccessful, and make determinations. Right? So, either way, it's a systematic method of gaining a thorough knowledge of processes. Okay. And part of this is going to be tied to the flowcharting assignment that you've got coming up, right? It's familiar to us. At its core is hypothesis generation and testing. How many of you guys maybe are sick of your methods classes? Especially for your psychology majors, but almost all majors in Ohio State, you're going to take classes in the scientific method. That's what this is, applied to service and or applied to industrial contexts. It's a lot more interesting when we apply it that way rather than some kind of artificial exercise that we do in class, right? And I'll tell you what, people resonate to this. We were teaching ourselves to do this. When I was at the mill, I had a high school education. A lot of guys I worked with had less than a high school education. What did we learn to do? We learned the experimental method. We learned how to design experiments, how to manipulate a variable, how to create a control group, that is, look at the system. We learned how to measure the results, and we learned rudimentary statistics so we could see if we made a meaningful difference in the process. And people loved it. They ate it up because they start to become the decision makers. The boss doesn't make the decision anymore. The boss says, what do you guys need to conduct this experiment? We'd say, this is what we need. Either we need time, or we need resources, or we need training, whatever it is. The leader then supplies us those things on a timely basis, and then we go to town with it. And it's amazingly fun when you get right down to it. Because a lot of jobs, let's say, as doing the same thing day in, day out, are freaking boring, mind-numbingly boring, right? What we're doing now is we're doing the same thing day in and out, but we're then mixing it up a little bit, and we're constantly evolving our process, and we can demonstrate it statistically. And statistics start making the decisions instead of people. And that levels the playing field. Because the manager's opinion, my opinion, don't matter anymore. What matters is what are the results. That is, what are the results of our study. It's the great equalizer. To me, statistics make people equal in the workplace when we then determine what we're going to do on the basis of statistical testing. So, the Deming.org, yes, there's an organization, so you can find it on the internet, and they do presentations, they have conferences. I'm not the only freak who is a Deming disciple. There's literally tens of thousands of us across the globe, right, who want to share this message. So, the Deming Institute was founded in '93, received its ruling as a nonprofit organization in '94. It was established only a few months before Dr. Deming's passing at age 93. Nice long life. The hope was Deming Institute to continue his life's work, right? To inspire individuals, and I hope I'm a part of that, and organizations to work collaboratively with the aim for everyone to win. Not to play this game of winners and losers, but I want to work with my supplier. Remember, I want to build trust and I want to build longevity. The thing is, the more successful I become, the more successful my supplier will become. We're in this together. We don't have to compete. We can cooperate to make this happen. Our aim then is enriching society. Notice, not profiting our organization, but enriching society through the Deming philosophy. So, Deming Institute vision then? The Deming Institute, has a vision. Surprised? Probably not, huh? We honor the legacy of Dr. Deming by bringing his teachings to life today and the future. We're introducing his teaching to a younger generation, developing new Deming leaders, and ensuring the transition of knowledge from Deming's trusted colleagues. Through new programs, learning events, digital resources, increase the adoption of the Deming system of profound knowledge. Note that the links once again, throughout this lecture on these slides are live links, so they will take you to the Deming org to take a look at this stuff, right? So, we're committed as we are to making people's lives better. Look, these guys at the mill, be it the lumber mill, the paper mill, whatever, they're going to spend 40 years there. A lot of them came, straight out of high school, and they're going to retire at age 65. So you're talking, this guy's going to spend 40 to 45 years. Isn't it incumbent upon us as leaders, as human beings who have empathy for each other, to make that the best possible 45 years that we can for that person? And this is kind of the dividing line, because if that idea turns you on, that's one thing. If the idea of just stuffing your pocket full of money turns you on, then that represents different perspectives and different ways of being in the world. So, our vision is for the system of profound knowledge to be the standard lens people use to understand and improve the world. We can do things like eliminate poverty, provide food across the planet, right, and eliminate food insecurity. We have the potential to do this, but it's going to require cooperative effort. So indeed, joy flourishes when leaders drive out fear and the forces of destruction from an organization. When cooperation supplants competition, people know what their jobs are, how they contribute to the system, right? When it's understood that people learn in different ways, whether it's reading, listening, watching, that learning is a lifelong endeavor, right? When these and other teachings and practices of the Deming system of profound knowledge are embraced and applied, not only do organizations, right, improve and thrive, but they experience a greater sense of purpose, a greater sense of fulfillment, and a greater sense of joy. And wouldn't it be nice if we don't have a bunch of middle-aged people getting to that point where they look at their lives and they go, what is the purpose? What am I doing and why am I doing it? When we engage in the process of continuous improvement, we have a purpose. We're getting better. Like the Beatles said, we're getting better all the time. So, the Deming Institute, our values, right? We got vision, we got values. We believe in the power of Dr. Deming's vision for a better world and strive with joy to carry on his work. We're dedicated to the Deming philosophy, the belief that working together with humility, right, can make a difference in the quality of life for everyone. And humility is a tough lesson. I already told you my lesson about my narcissism, right, and my lack of humility. We have a high moral and ethical standard, professional, personal integrity, right, and commitment to lifelong learning. We believe in working together in the spirit of cooperation, collaboration, respect, and support. And we're a diverse and inclusive community. So Deming.org, visit it, and if it inspires you, live it and frickin' teach it. Okay? And that's it for this one. We're going to take a look at the deadly diseases next. This is the view outside my attic window. I know I live in the hilltop. It's not all that attractive, but we do have this giant Japanese silk floss tree, and when it blooms, it's pretty amazing. Obviously, this is kind of a little manipulation on that photo, but you guys have a good day, and we'll pick up for the next one.